This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Future-proof your business, retain top talent, upskill your team, and gain essential insights with training for individuals, teams, and leaders. Stay compliant with regulations and identify risks and weaknesses before they become problematic. Fill out the form at go.acilearning.com/twit for information on a free 2-week trial for your team.
And this is the merger that I feel like we've been talking about for quite a while now. This past year, it took one step forward to completion earlier this week, and then we realized it's not a done deal yet. So we're going to get to all the reasons why. Let's catch up on the latest with Iain Thomson, who wrote about this for The Register. It's always great to get the chance to talk with you, Iain. Thank you for hopping on.
Always great to be around. Yes, it's been quite. It's a constantly changing situation. This is a fascinating case. What looked like, a potential end to the merger has now turned into what's looking like a cage fight.
And this isn't the only cage fight that we've had on our horizon. So, I mean, big tech and cage fights. It's a thing right now, apparently. Let's catch everyone up to speed just to kind of start off with. You write about this as possibly the largest acquisition in tech history. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like. What makes it the largest?
Well, I mean, Microsoft already has a very strong space in the gaming sphere. They have various large titles. The Xbox console system is pretty good, although it's had its ups and downs. What concerned regulators about this was the idea that Microsoft, heaven forfend, might actually, restrict other games from its games from being used on other consoles. Now, that's obviously anti-competitive, and the FTC has taken a slightly more muscular stance of late on competition issues. But Microsoft's argument is that they will certainly allow Call of Duty to be shared for 10 years. Now, that sounds all well and good, but at the same time, will they do restrictions on smaller games within their platform ecosystem? And I think that's really what's worrying regulators.
Okay, so now you wrote just a couple of days ago about the news that the judge in this case had struck down a potential stall by the FTC. What exactly did the judge have to say about the merger and her decision to ultimately shoot it down? Which this is a fast-moving case, so we've got other developments coming up. But let's start here. What do you think?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, she cast serious doubt on the Harvard professor who argued that this would actually harm competition within the ecosphere. It wasn't her. I think her ruling may also have been influenced by the fact that the EU already agreed to the deal after Microsoft made various commitments in terms of ensuring a fair and level gaming play. Yes, a fair and level playing field. Sorry.
There we go.
For the platform. So America was kind of the last big holdout. Even China agreed this deal. So I think that may have influenced the decision, but she also didn't basically buy the concept that, this would be anti-competitive. I mean, for many decades now, large mergers of this kind have been put through on the nod. So, it was a worrisome decision in terms of the FTC's policy. And I think, quite frankly, after that verdict, everyone was expecting the FTC to roll over, but that didn't happen.
Yes, indeed. It sounds like we have news of the FTC appealing its loss in the case, which, I mean, was that even really that surprising? I wasn't surprised to hear that. What does it mean for the timetable of this decision at this point? Are we now waiting, another handful of months, if not a year? I feel like these cases take a lot longer to happen than they probably should. But is that the case here? What's the reality around this appeal?
Well, I think the appeal has actually thrown a bit of a spanner in the works on this one. It isn't going to get sorted out as quickly as many people would have liked. Mm-hmm. The FTC will have to make their case. There'll be another hearing. How long this is going to get held up, I don't know. Generally, with cases that the FTC has dealt with in the past, if they lost the initial case, they would reach a settlement at some point in the future. 'Now, how soon or how late that comes is very much up to the agency itself.
Hmm. Yes, indeed. It sounds like we have news of the FTC appealing its loss in the case, which, I mean, was that even really that surprising? I wasn't surprised to hear that. What does it mean for the timetable of this decision at this point? Are we now waiting, another handful of months, if not a year? I feel like these cases take a lot longer to happen than they probably should. But is that the case here? What's the reality around this appeal?
Well, I think
Okay. Now, just taking a step back, I think what strikes me about this is how frequently the game Call of Duty comes up in play, and for some reason in my head, I'm like, wow, such a major thing hinging on a video game, which I realize that's kind of the point here, right? Is the video game industry is huge. Call of Duty as a property, as a video game kind of entity, is a major milestone release. How much of this reversal that we're talking about here hinged on that non-exclusive nature of Call of Duty alone, let alone other games? Because I know you mentioned there are other games that were kind of considered in this, but I feel like everybody's mentioning Call of Duty because it's the behemoth in the room. Like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that such a major case hinges on the success of a single game. Is that actually the case?
Well, I mean, I understand totally. I mean, it's everything focused on Call of Duty, and the number of potential headlines about headshots and that sort of thing to the case were very, very tempting. It's a natural thing that people will focus on the Call of Duty is a huge franchise.
Huge.
Many people have grown up. They're now teaching their kids how to play it. So. At the same time, it is kind of a distraction, though. So basically, what they've agreed to do is share Call of Duty and, within that franchise with other platforms. The devil is in the details, however. Going through, that may not apply to smaller game franchises, which are controlled or created by Activision Blizzard. So it's very much sort of, let's go through the contract details on this. Whether or not the EU has done a good enough job, they went for the Call of Duty thing again, but there are some things to be delved into on that front. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah. And you also mentioned earlier, the resistance that Microsoft was facing in the UK. You actually told me kind of pre-show you spoke with the UK regulators about this. Kind of what were you able to glean from those conversations as far as how this case, how it's happening here in the US might have impacts outside of the United States?
Well, once again, Brexit Island is going it alone. Basically now, the FTC appeal will give them some hope, but the UK had been standing out about this. Yes, I spoke to somebody from the Competition Authority. The word unofficially is that they are in negotiations. And I think we both know how that goes. That usually means we're going to settle this one way or another. It all depends just on what the details are. I mean, if the US, approved the deal, then that would leave the UK basically having to settle straight off the bat. If the FTC's appeal works, however, that could put some spine into the UK when it comes to competition on this area. Now, as I say, from the conversation I had, it's looking like they're going to settle, but, never can tell.
Never can tell. And I think finally, I wanted to put a little bit of a spotlight on Lina Khan from the FTC. Cases like these are putting her strategy front and center. She, it's no question that she's, has the bigger technology companies kind of on her radar. Definitely has a plan to kind of temper the heat, I suppose, that these companies are able to deliver right now in the marketplace. How would you rate her effectiveness right now when you take a look at kind of how this case is going, how some of her other efforts are going right now? What are your thoughts there?
Okay, now I operate under UK libel laws as a British person, so I'll be fairly circumspect. Yes, she was hired specifically as someone who was seen as bringing more free market competition and avoiding monopolization. In terms of effectiveness, 2 out of 5 so far. I recognize the wheels of government move very slowly, but we haven't seen anything that you could call a major win so far if she's actually looking to broaden out market competition. And I do think that's important. Monopolization, oligopolies do not help spur innovation or lower costs. So the FTC has a valid role to play there. She's certainly talked to mean games so far, but in terms of effectiveness, not really that good.
Yeah. Well, Iain, it's always a pleasure to get the chance to talk to you. I actually got to see you in person a couple of weeks ago, so that was amazing. I love getting you on the show, so thank you so much for sharing your time and your thoughts with the Tech News Weekly folks. Really appreciate you. If people want to find you, of course, theregister.com now. If people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Well, still on Twitter and it's sort of last helicopter out of Saigon phase.
Sure.
But actually taking a break from social media has been rather helpful in some regards.
Yeah.
In the meantime, you can always find me on the register.
Right on. Well, thank you, Iain. It's a pleasure, and we'll talk to you soon. Appreciate you.
Speak to you soon, mate.
All
Cheers.
right. Take care.